Hello, Leo, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of September 2022. These messages will be for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising, and by all means, if you're feeling curious, you can check out any of the readings that might apply to you, as each one may resonate differently for you. And as always, before we get started, do keep in mind each one of these readings is general in nature. It's meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, so that means that not necessarily every detail that comes through will be for you. I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that might connect to your personal circumstances and whatever that might evoke within you. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful and simply leave the rest. Chances are, if it doesn't resonate for you in any way, it's likely not for you. So Leo, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a beautiful birthday season, and I hope the summer has been great for you. I can't believe we're already in September and fall is just around the corner, but I am super excited to be here with you today and take a look at what September has to offer. I'm sorry I was late getting this reading out to you. It has been quite a journey to get here. We've had a lot of roadblocks in terms of just having time to conduct these readings, but we're here, and no matter what time during the month, even if you connect with these readings after the month is over, sometimes they can be really illuminating in terms of taking a look back, reflecting on your month, and seeing if anything makes sense in hindsight. So sometimes these readings can be just as validating. So yeah, we're already like a week in, so it may resonate for you more now. We'll see. But anyways, I've got your oracle cards here. We're going to do a full and thorough read of your tarot. After your tarot is finished, I'll take some time to share with you the channeled messages that I took some time to sit down and connect with before getting your cards out. And then we will conclude the reading with a couple of helpful affirmations and one final oracle message as a final piece of advice for the month based on the reading. So before we jump into your cards, I'm going to take a moment to share with you the channeled energetic impression and the things that I was picking up on as I was preparing for your reading, shuffling the cards, and setting intentions. It was really interesting because back to back, like the first three things that came through to me were whirlwind and overwhelm and not knowing where to start. And so this doesn't have to be like an intensely stressful feeling. It could very well be, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed. Generally, there's some like stress and anxiety and some pressure that can go with that. But it could also be a sense of like disorientation. Like you don't necessarily, so sometimes stress is like once you get to that point where you've kind of got a grasp on just how crazy everything is and you're determining what you need to do to work through it. I find that a lot of the time that's when the stress and pressure comes up. So this could be like the preliminary stages of just feeling like, wow, there's like a lot of balls in the air, there's a lot of things in motion, potentially a lot of unknowns. So there might be just like a lot of stuff to try and figure out or to contend with. A lot of chaos that you can't seem to make order of, and just not knowing where to start in terms of either like prioritizing things, what you need to do, working through whatever's challenging at the moment. So that was what really came through first. And there is a sense along with that there could be, or it may feel as though there could be a lot of work ahead of you. And I felt there was a very big highlight on practical action. So in terms of like mentally trying to understand, make a plan, put the pieces together, figure things out, especially if you're someone that feels as though they need a very structured plan in order to take action and be successful. That may not be your highlight, right? The more that you try to understand and think things through, the more you may find yourself confused and further overwhelmed because perhaps the pieces are not falling into place or there's not a lot of clarity. So this is saying like mentally, emotionally, this might not be something that you can really make sense of. It might not be something that is going to serve you to really like try and overthink and make a plan. It might just be something that you need to take action on. And so, yeah, whatever it is, whether it's like something that's stressing you out, whether it's just a lot of things that need tending to and you don't know where to start, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like I kind of get the sense that like if there's that much going on, it doesn't necessarily matter. Sometimes it's just about taking the first step, right? And I get the sense that taking that practical action, so even if it's just choosing like one random thing off of your list and getting it done, sometimes taking that practical action and moving forward shifts your energy, and sometimes clarity comes in as a result, or sometimes the path becomes more clear as we walk it, right? So it could just be like more doing, less thinking, and that might help not only cross items off of your list and kind of remove some additional complications, but it might also give you some more clarity as to what your next steps are. Yeah, so just start somewhere, it doesn't matter where. And then the next thing that kind of caught my attention was the concept of daydreaming and how sometimes we can get caught up in daydreams and just wish the day away. So we're not necessarily present or focused on what we're doing. Sometimes it's good if we're doing something that we don't really enjoy doing, but it can lead to like developing a habit of kind of daydreaming as a method of escape, right? So escaping the things that stress us out, escaping the things that potentially we're not happy with, trying to pacify ourselves in our imagination because we feel our external circumstances are unsatisfactory and out of our control. And so the thing that came up was just making sure, like, if you're somebody who's daydreaming is a really beautiful and can be a really helpful thing to do, right? So it's like, don't stop doing that. But I guess the question to be asked is, are you being lost in your daydreams? Are you becoming lost in your daydreams? Do you need them to help you get through the day? Or are you being inspired by your daydreams, right? So the idea is it's a daydream because it's something that's enticing or something that's positive that you don't have right now. And so instead of getting lost in a dreamland, you can be inspired by the very things that you're dreaming about. And from that inspired place, you can take action in the physical world to start bringing more of that daydream energy and those daydreamy things that you're desiring into your reality. So if you're going to spend the energy thinking about it and focusing on it, it might as well be in an empowering way, which helps you align with that which is important to you, and then start taking action, right? So it's like you can use that to feed your inspiration and your motivation to, get ahead in your life, like, in the physical world, or, to enhance your focus or your motivation in terms of your physical manifestations. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the next thing that really kind of followed that was a sense of worry. So you may find yourself feeling particularly worried or particularly anxious. It could be just this month. It could be something specific that is on your mind that's kind of stressing you out, or it could be just generalized worry and anxiety if you're somebody who's prone to that. And so it's kind of like the specific anxiety that I was picking up on was a sense of like not knowing, like being worried about how things are going to turn out, or what could possibly happen, what could possibly go wrong, how would you deal with that, what would you feel as a result, that kind of stuff. So you might have a tendency when you're feeling anxious to think of all the worst case scenarios, which might kind of just ramp up your anxiety further, giving you more things to worry about. You might have a tendency to kind of catastrophize, which could cause you to spiral a little bit. So what I would say is, it's just being conscious of worry and anxiety and the role that might play in your life, and how much that impacts the decisions that you make, how much time you spend in that place, and recognize that oftentimes our imagination is worse than anything. Oftentimes the things that we think about, the things that we fear, are actually like very, very specific worst case scenarios that are unlikely to happen, but we focus on those. So I would say, like, one of my coach friends used to always say, like, if you're afraid of like how things might happen, or like worst case scenario, think of what you would consider to be the absolute worst case scenario, and then ask yourself, if that were to happen, if that were to be true for me, what would I do? how would I handle things? And what you'll start to see is when you stop focusing on the problem and how scary that worst case scenario is, right? Because sometimes the worst case does happen to some people, and sometimes it's not even a situation they've necessarily thought of, yet it happens nonetheless, right? And they have to deal with it. When you start to think about what you would feel and what you would think and what you would have to do, it's like, yeah, it might be heartbreaking, or it might be painful, or it might be really unenjoyable, or it might be really inconvenient, but you can get through it. You can do hard things. So it's like when you actually think about how you would be taking empowered action in response to those worst case scenarios, you can kind of claim a little bit of your power back by realizing, like, even the absolute worst thing, you know, you can handle. It might not be easy and it might not be pretty and you might struggle, but you know, there's always a next step. There's always a way forward. And then it's realizing that the chances of that scenario playing out are not necessarily very likely, right? So the other thing is recognizing that if it's something that's out of your control, which a lot of the things that we worry about are mostly out of our control. Sorry to be rambling, but I think this is just important to say. It's that if things are going to happen regardless, and we have to figure out how to navigate them, if you spend all of your time where like nothing is necessarily happening, but you spend all of the time that you could be connecting with good things and just trying to live your life worrying about all of the things that could go wrong, or worrying about specific things going wrong, then what kind of life does that leave you with, right? Because, you know, with one result, if that worst case or those worst cases don't come to fruition, then you've spent all of that time worrying and in anxiety and stress and not feeling safe to just be present and enjoy your life for fear of something kind of lurking around the next corner. And then if like on the converse, that worst case or one of those worst cases were to happen, then you would be in the thick of trying to manage it and likely struggling, but you're essentially experiencing it twice, because you would be looking back on the period of time leading up to that, which would be the period that you would have to, you know, potentially enjoy, or just have that lack of pressure on top of you, and look back on it and realize, wow, I spent all of that time worrying about this, and then it happened, and now I'm living it a second time, right? So it's like projecting ourselves into the future, especially from a place of worry, often kind of robs us of the present moment and the joy and the connection that we are able to have, and also the ability that we're able to have to impact our life. So it's like whatever we're thinking and feeling and focusing on right now ultimately is shaping our future. And so if we're in a place of worry, it's pretty difficult to manifest anything but worry or more situations where we've got anxiety. So it's like the more we feed it, the bigger it gets, you know? And I don't want to oversimplify it because it can be really crippling for some people, but I think it's just important to recognize that, like, sometimes just bringing your conscious mind to it and trying to rationalize the fact that, like, it's not necessarily helping you, it's not necessarily changing the outcome, it's just taking your power away from the present moment to do something that's going to be healthy for you and serve you. So if it's something that you're really kind of like wound up about and you know it's out of your control, then it's like finding coping strategies to help you get into the present moment and just make a decision that's going to feel good for you right now. So yeah, sorry, that was a lot, but it needed to be said. So we'll get into your oracle cards. Your first oracle this month is relax the hold of darkness and be at cause, which is interesting. And your second card is Star Family, which says you're part of a team of souls. Call in support. So immediately, like, obviously I just rambled on about anxiety and the power of the mind and all of that kind of stuff. But like this card coming out, it tells me that there could be something specifically challenging for you. You may feel as though you're going through a dark period in your life. It may be really evident. It may be impacting like a lot of different areas of your life, or it might just be one specific thing that's kind of hanging over your head that that's taking your focus and feeling like a bit of a drain on your energy. This would be something that feels particularly like challenging, troublesome. It could be potentially painful, something that you're having a difficult time working through. And this would be a confirmation of that, but it's also, it also comes with kind of like a gift, in the sense that it's saying that if you are experiencing a dark experience, if you're in a dark place, if you're struggling, if the light is not not really evident at this moment, it's basically saying to take heart, because through that period of darkness, you're being asked to kind of reconnect with the light. And so, you know how they say it's always darkest before dawn? This is very much the vibe that this card kind of gives me. And it says, like, you know, sometimes we go through these dark periods and we might be hard on ourselves or be down on ourselves. We might feel as though all is lost. And the thing is, it's like all we have during those times sometimes is hope, right? And it's basically saying that if you can connect to hope and allow yourself to consider that things can change and will change, potentially for the better and potentially more impactfully and quickly than you would otherwise think, then that connection to hope allows us to open our energy up to the opportunity to be kind of upgraded by the experience. Because when we go through those periods of darkness and challenge, and we're struggling and we're fumbling, and sometimes we feel like we're failing or we're regressing, particularly if we have high expectations of ourselves and we can see the ways that we're not meeting our expectations. It's like, when you're going through tough times, you can't be busy judging yourself about how you're handling it, because then not only are you suffering and struggling and trying to work through something, but then you're also beating yourself down for not doing a good enough job. And like, who does a good job handling struggle and darkness? Like, it's something that we struggle with just innately, right? And it's not meant to be enjoyable, but you know, sometimes we can make it a lot worse for ourselves than it needs to be. And so this is just about recognizing that you may be experiencing it, but it's a very normal part of the human experience, even if it's challenging and difficult. And it's about just kind of allowing it to loosen its grip on you. It's kind of like dropping your resistance, dropping your judgment of yourself, dropping your fear of being in this place forever or not knowing how to get out of it. And just kind of being open to to moving to the next level, because it's kind of like when you can start releasing that grip, the less that you resist, the more that you are able to exist in a state of presence and just kind of flow with the experiences, and then, you know, move through them. Because sometimes we get stuck in a dark place and it's challenging and it wears us down to the point where we almost kind of lose hope and we commit ourselves to staying in that space, even subconsciously. And so sometimes we stay in that space long after we have learned the lesson or we've outgrown it, because it's impacted us and our psyche and our emotions on such a deep level that we're not seeing that as, you know, a hurdle that we've overcome, a challenge that we've endured and learned from and become strengthened by, which has set us up in a perfect position to move onward and upward, right? And sometimes it's like the deeper the struggle, the higher, you know, the ascension afterward, right? And so this is basically saying that this is preparing you for a moment of ascension, a moment of leveling up, of experiencing life more deeply. And you know, this deck in particular, the Sacred Rebels Oracle, there's usually a lot of different talking points in the guidebook, and I don't like to read, but since this card came up and I gave it an initial read, and since I've been talking to you guys here, I really do feel like it might be worth me reading word for word from the book, because It might be helpful for you more so than in terms of like I'm giving you my interpretation and the connections that I'm making, but I do want to share that with you as well, just in case it's helpful to you. So I'll read you what it says in the book. So, dear sacred rebel, this moment in your life requires great courage. Fortunately, you possess that in bucket loads. You're being asked to allow yourself to be lifted out of one level of known reality and into the next level of higher voltage reality. Higher voltage reality requires a more absolute trust and a heart that is surrendered into the greater heart of the universe so that life can happen to us, through us, and with us more quickly, more radically, more beautifully, and more boldly. You are now being invited into this new reality where things happen quickly and according to bold, loving optimism. This is a reality not only of potential, but of manifestation of the great, big, cosmic yes. To access this reality, you have to leap from the known waters, and others may think you are crazy for doing so. You have to leave behind the dark, weighty grip of hesitation, procrastination, second guessing, and the belief that you have to do everything on your own. You may fear for your life. How will you be safe in the wild electrical pulse of so much aliveness? How will you function without the hazy, sleep-inducing paralysis of playing it safe, taking too long, and placing lesser priorities above your sacred art of life? How will you hold yourself back if you don't hold on to fear? You do not need to worry about such things. Life is wild, but it is also wise. It is a force of startling, raw awakening at times, but it is also the natural process of evolution where all things mature according to a seasonal cycle in right timing. You are a part of, not apart from, that process. The invitation to shift gears and jump on board the express train of life will feel exhilarating and perhaps also challenging. When you are in the hold of the darkness, you will feel pushed to turn away, to imagine it is all too much, and to create excuses about how your desires aren't grounded enough, that you are being too flighty or flaky, or that you are not living in the real world. That is fear talking, not truth. If the sacred rebel is not awakened, we will continue to live in a culture drenched in fear and distrust of nature. Those without awakened hearts don't yet understand what nature knows. She knows timing. She knows life and death. She knows the creative process. She just knows and can be trusted to support us, her own creations, in becoming all that we can become. Does this mean that we become passive and just flow along like a limp leaf detached from a tree and blown about randomly by the breeze? No. Being free of the dark hold empowers us to take up our cause. This means being free to act and affirm the intuitive feelings we have by following up on them. This is painting like someone who has lost their mind, completely free and from the heart. It means writing even though you have no conscious idea of what you are writing, even as the words are streaming forth upon the page before your rather curious eyes. And it means speaking about your work, never hiding it away. Allow it to breathe the fresh air and be held by the gaze of another. Detach from the darkness that would say it is not enough or it must be the best thing ever, whatever that means, in order to be worthy of a place in the world. Instead, just let it be what it is. It might fly, it might endure, and it might not. All of nature, including you and your passions and dreams, will be what is needed, when it is needed, and how it is needed, according to wisdom. We just have to trust in this, within ourselves and within nature herself, through the flow of life, and participate. You are asked to go within and imagine diving deep off the edge of what you have known. There is so much more calling to you now. It's your time. Leap. And so one of the major takeaways that I get from that specific message in the guidebook is that, quite oftentimes we see our major challenges as roadblocks or maybe a reflection of our shortcomings or things that we haven't done well enough, whereas they're actually lessons and opportunities to master a new skill or to come to a new level of awareness. And so it's kind of like, whatever you're challenged by, whatever you're feeling a little bit unsure about, if there's anything that feels kind of unsafe, and like the book said, anything that you're procrastinating about, anything that you're judging, anything that you feel like you need to hide because maybe it's not worth sharing or it's not perfect enough. And it's kind of like, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're worried about, it's meant to be a unique manifestation of your own. It's meant to be whatever you make it, and it's meant to be shared. And it doesn't necessarily matter what happens after you take action, and it doesn't necessarily matter exactly how things go, right? So it's like whether you need to deem it a success or not. It is the process of you connecting with that, accepting that, expressing that authentically, letting that be birthed out into the world, and what you will go through, what you'll learn, what will be illuminated for you as a result, and anyone else who is involved in that process. So, a lot of times we focus on the end goal and something being produced and whether or not that has value, but we don't realize that a lot of the value in our life experiences is actually the journey there, the process of creation, the process of expression, right? Like conceiving an idea and holding it and birthing it and seeing it take action. Sometimes the idea coming to fruition may or may not end with just something being put out into the world and that's it. Sometimes it may go much further than that. But sometimes what we're meant to have is the experience of allowing ourselves that gift, of expressing ourselves authentically, of doing things differently, following our hearts, not feeling as though we have to play it small or abide by the rules that our fears and perceived limitations set out for us. It's like taking that unknown and using it as a portal to kind of ascend to the next level, rather than committing to being stuck in a dark place where we don't necessarily feel safe to do the things that are most meaningful to us. And the thing that I love about this card, particularly saying that you don't have to do it alone, that could also go hand in hand with whatever fears or anxieties you might be experiencing about whatever this change or shift might mean for you. And this is basically saying like there's a lot of support available to you whether you realize it or not, and sometimes it's just a matter of asking for it, right? So not being afraid to ask for support. And the Star Family card is talking about the people who feel like it could be your actual family, but it could be people that feel like family, even though they're not. The whole, the kind of like weird vibe behind this card is the idea that because, we're all energy, our souls come from different clusters of souls, and those souls come from the same like energetic source, so they're very similar. And there's like the card also says like not only are they similar and they have similar values and similar experiences in life, but at one point they were all the same energy, right? And so this is kind of like the idea of soulmates. So this would be people that you feel really drawn to, people that you feel like a really intense calling toward, or maybe a sense of knowing or familiarity. It could be a sense of like from the very beginning feeling really comfortable with someone, or feeling as though you've known them for a long time. Just those kind of like deep soulmate, kind of synchronistic types of relationships might indicate to you that you've met members of your star family, and they don't necessarily have to be family. You can meet them anywhere, and there's no limit as to how many of those connections you may have. So with this card coming up, it may be telling you to recognize if you've got individuals in your life already that you feel you relate to on that level. You should know, because it's a very specific kind of pull. And, if so, then figuring out like, how can you connect more deeply with those individuals? How can you ask for and receive their support, right? Because the whole point of being a star family is that they're there to support each other. And with the amount of shared experiences and shared values, they're most adept at helping each other because there's a deeper level of understanding and compassion there. And so this can also, like, these might be people that because you understand more deeply, you're more willing to help, right? And to go out of your way, and vice versa. And you may not realize that, but there will be people that you connect with on a deep level that will understand what you're going through. They'll know how to help you, and they will want to help you. So it's like recognizing and calling in support from those people. And even if there's no one that you could think of that you have that kind of connection with, or perhaps you're disconnected, it might be about rekindling those relationships, or this could indicate that you may have already come into contact, or you may soon be coming into contact with somebody, right? So it's taking a moment to consider who might be your star family, who might be the people who are there to support you. And how might you call on them? And then the thing is, it didn't say this in the guidebook, but this is one thing that I really get in terms of this. It's like if you are spiritual or open-minded in terms of spirituality, this could also be in terms of, the unseen, the world of the unseen, the loved ones that are there to support you. So this could be, you could think of them as angels or spirit guides, ascended masters. It could be ancestors, passed on loved ones. So it's recognizing that energetically there's also a lot of love and support and guidance open to us. And so sometimes when we're stuck or we're feeling low, it helps to voice our concerns out loud and to ask for help, because asking is kind of an integral part of receiving, and knowing that you deserve to ask for help and you deserve to receive help. And when you can ask from a place of understanding that we're not meant to go it alone and that you deserve help and support, it really helps open the door, not only for support to come in because you've asked, but it's setting the intention that if you are asking, you're open to receive. And so that can open up more doors for you as well. So yes, there's a focus on the tangible, like the physical people in your life, but I would also say on an energetic sense, whether you pray, whether you like speak to your angels or spirit guides or passed on loved ones, asking for support, asking for signs and synchronicities. It might just be little things, but it's that might be something that helps you kind of navigate as you're trying to kind of move away from the darkness and the things that keep you feeling stuck or disempowered. Okay, so let's get into your tarot. That one jumped out rather confidently. Okay. Your first card this month is the Devil. That is Capricorn energy. You may have Capricorn in your chart if you're into astrology. You might be working with a Capricorn, meeting a Capricorn. They may play a significant role, who knows. Your second card is the Four of Swords. Your third card is the Nine of Pentacles. And I just have to check to make sure the deck is upright because this came out reversed. Your final card is Strength reversed. And I usually keep all of my cards upright, so I only read reversals if they happen to come out that way, or they happen to get flipped around without me knowing, or they flip on their way. But there we go. That's you, the Leo card, showing up in your own reading. Oh, and you've got the Sun at the bottom of the deck, which is also another very strong, very promising Leo energy. So the gang's all here for the major arcana especially. Okay, so we're going to take a quick second to clarify these cards, and then we will do a full read. So the Devil is clarified by the King of Pentacles, which is also major earth energy, like Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So that could be highlighting this Capricorn energy, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so let's clarify the Four of Swords now. Four of Swords is clarified by the Five of Pentacles. Right? Nine of Pentacles is clarified by the Page of Swords. And finally, we'll clarify the Strength reversed. Okay, that's why it's reversed. See, this gives me so much context. I love these clarifications. So Strength reversed is clarified by the Hanged Man. And now that this has come out, so normally I would read this card as a full-on reversal, But with this context of the Hanged Man, this is you upside down. You are Leo reversed upside down like the Hanged Man. So I think that's just a confirmation of that Hanged Man energy, but with a specific spin on your current state of being. All right. And then we've got the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck under the Sun. Goodness. So what I will say first and foremost is, this last little bit aside, you've got exclusively like swords and pentacles, like earth and air energy. So that tells me first and foremost that there might be a really intense focus on or highlight on the world of the material. That could be your job, your career, your money, your finances, your savings. It could be material possessions. It could be major purchases, like anything that has to do with your material stability, house, car. It can also have to do with your health, your body, and also family, right? Because that's a kind of like a practical manifestation. So there's a main focus on that. There's lots and lots of that energy showing up. And then with the swords, this is also highlighting your thoughts, your perceptions, your beliefs, the way that you communicate and represent yourself, kind of like the world of the practical, and then like your mental energy, your perceptions and beliefs, and the way that impacts your view of yourself in the world. So I get the sense there's a major focus on your material existence and how you're progressing in that way. And if that hasn't been a theme to date, it could be something that's really becoming a highlight for you. Or perhaps you've been working on it and there's been some kind of shift, either in terms of the direction that you're moving in, the goals that you've got, the limitations, like, yeah. So with the Sun and the Eight of Pentacles being at the bottom of the deck, this is the underlying energy that's informing this progression this month. So this could be something that happened. It could be like in the deep past, in the recent past. It might be something that you're still connected to or is still influencing you. So the Sun is all about happiness, joy. It's also connected to children. So raising children, having children. It can be our inner child. Healing our inner child, connecting to our inner child and expressing that. It can be about connecting to our youth and expressing and connecting to that inner child through connection with children. And it's also just, it's about happiness and joy, like the things that feel like sunshine on our face. It is the happiest card in the deck. And for it to come up with the Eight of Pentacles, that's actually really interesting, because the Eight of Pentacles is all about the hard work and time and focus and consistent dedication that it takes to master a skill. Right? And that's usually in a practical sense, right? So this could be like studying, even, I don't know why welding just came to mind, like a trade, because I was thinking like, oh, what's a trade, right? Welding. So think about the journey, right? In terms of learning and apprenticeship and mastering, and the sheer number of hours in terms of practicing that it takes to really, really refine and master your craft, right? And recognizing that it might be time consuming and it can even be monotonous, right? Just the sense of practicing over and over and over again. But ultimately that work pays off because you're able to master it and you're able to produce something of such a high quality that inevitably, it's valuable, right? And you're going to benefit from it directly. So the interesting thing is, it's like this could be focusing on working toward the things that make you the happiest, making more time to connect with them, making more time for your inner child, for joy and play and fun, and potentially healing your inner child. And this could also just be like, the thing that came to mind is like fixing your mindset in terms of what happiness means to you. Sorry, as I'm talking about happiness, my dog busts in the room, so I had to pause and quickly remove him and close the door. But yeah, so the thing that immediately comes to mind with these two cards showing up together is like, it kind of makes me think of mastering healthy habits, right? Connecting with more joy, connecting with more optimism and positivity. So especially if you have been in a dark place, or perhaps you've experienced some kind of depression, or maybe hardship, or maybe just, the way that you were raised, it was just kind of to focus on the negative, or to feel kind of powerless, right? So normally, the Eight of Pentacles is not a card associated with healing, but it definitely is a card of focus and work and dedication. And it makes me think of the focus and work and consistency that it takes to, form new habits and to kind of like disconnect from old ones. And so I would say that, like, yeah, maybe you're focusing more on happiness and what that means to you, and you're trying to incorporate more of a practice in terms of like connecting to happiness, connecting to joy and gratitude and abundance, and trying to experience more of that on the daily through some kind of practice to help you move away from the things that have been holding you back. And that could have a lot to do with money. So it could have to do a lot with your ideas about material abundance and what that means, your ability to manifest abundance, your ability to work hard and to be compensated well for your hard work, to afford the things that you need to afford, to have a comfortable and stable life for yourself, for a family. Because your strength is showing up as the King of Pentacles. Well, the Devil clarified by the King of Pentacles. And I know the Devil seems like kind of a negative card. There's obviously that connotation that many people have. But the Devil is, the thing came to mind, like the devil's in the details, right? And so it's basically like, this is Capricorn energy, and Capricorn is known as one of the most like hardworking signs. It's like literally take everything in your way and use it as fuel to get forward, right? So it's like put the hard work in, and as a result of being able to just put your head down and work and plow through things, you see things move forward in the physical world. Like you master your craft, or you get that job, or you get that promotion, or you've got that money in the bank and you make that big purchase, or whatever the case may be. And the thing to kind of keep in mind with the Devil is that because it is related to material abundance and stability and the ability to kind of move toward that and to make the work happen that is necessary to get that abundance and that satisfaction in the material sense, it's recognizing that our nature can be easily corrupted, as a result of greed, right? So it's about trying to keep that in balance, especially if you know that you can work hard and make a lot of money. It can be tempting to just do nothing but focus on work and make time for work and just continuously focus on working more and making more and buying more and needing more. And so we can fall into that kind of negative feedback loop of wanting more and working harder, and then we kind of never have enough, because the only thing that keeps us focused on working harder is getting more, which inevitably has to come from a lack mindset where we're not able to connect with abundance and to feel solid and confident about the work that we've put in, and to connect with and appreciate the abundance that we have been able to manifest. And so I love that it's clarified by the King of Pentacles, because this is like a very stable and balanced energy of being able to manifest in the material world. So it's like whatever it is that you're manifesting, whatever you're working on, whether it's your savings or your career or your learning, you're perfecting your craft, whatever it is, this is like a very solid, stable energy where it's like focusing on what's important, making your time and effort work for you, recognizing your ability to work hard, recognizing your ability to manifest abundance, and also allowing yourself to feel confident about it and to enjoy it. Because the King of Pentacles is a very stable, solid, practical, hardworking individual who's also very loyal. He's a very, and it doesn't have to be a man, right? I'm just saying because it's the king, but it doesn't have to be associated with a masculine person or somebody who identifies as a man. But it's like loyalty being a strong and loyal provider for their family, right? And it's the joy of not only being able to cultivate that material stability, but being at the point where it's like you've established it and you're able to benefit from it, and your family's able to benefit from it, and you're able to take care of yourself and others as a result of your hard work. So, and this could be related to, like, perhaps there are people in your life that are relying on you to support them, right? And maybe it's about like putting the work in so that you can establish that solid base of material stability, that like you can live the good life, and if you are having kids or you have kids, they can live the good life. Future generations are set up for success. So it's like, that's your strength. So it's like you can make things happen in the material world, right? You're in the process of manifesting, and you're putting in the work, right? So it's like you may not have seen it come to fruition, and you may know that you still got a lot of work and a lot of time to focus, but it's like you're doing it. And as long as you keep doing it, and you're focused on your reason for doing it, and not just getting caught up in fear or a sense of lack and consistently needing more. When you have that goal that you're working towards, and you know why you're working toward it, it's like you're unstoppable. So that's all I will say. Like, I think whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, it's like, I feel like it's very highlighted this month. And like the goat's feet are on fire. So it's like, I almost take that as like, quick movement. Yeah, sorry, I'm just so drawn in by this. This is like wild to me. So your challenge this month is showing up as the 4 of Swords and the 5 of Pentacles. And so interestingly enough, with this, these are both very solid, very hardworking cards of putting in the work, getting stuff done. So you might be working really hard physically, mentally, emotionally. You might have a lot of drains, and you might just have to be kind of like constantly putting in the work. So because that's highlighted, it might be easier for you this month. It might be more highlighted. You might be seeing more tangible results more quickly as a result of the work that you're doing. Your challenge is actually showing up as like taking rest, right? The 4 of Swords is a card of rest and recuperation, healing, renewal, disconnection, gentleness with yourself, right? And I think that's it. It's recognizing that, we can't be go, go, go all the time. It's not reasonable to expect ourselves to be going at 110%, even 100% all of the time, right? Because naturally we have cycles, and it's just like what this is talking about. Like, we have these natural cycles, the natural world, where there's like growth and like, so, and birth, and then like there's like rest and a period of winter. So it's like we naturally have seasons where things are sped up and where things kind of slow down, and either energies of action and forward movement and things happening are highlighted, or it's like a period of rest and withdrawal to recuperate and to prepare for that big time of action. Right? And it's recognizing that those cycles are a part of our natural kind of rhythm. It's part of the natural world, and it impacts us too, because, we kind of, although our developed world is very much disconnected from that natural rhythm of life, it's like, it's still, it still happens. It's like, you look at women's cycles, right? It's like that in and of itself impacts us on a day-to-day basis throughout the month, right? So it's like recognizing that our nature requires of us that we take time to rest, that we take time to heal. If it's a period where, we're under a lot of stress or pressure, or we've got a lot under our belt and we're working really hard, it's recognizing that the value is not just in working hard and just in taking action and just in seeing tangible results in our external environment. It's also resting and allowing ourselves to be regenerated, because that period of rest, if we're intentional about taking it and resting, it can rejuvenate us so that when the time comes to take action, and put the work in, we're going to be more efficient and we're going to require less energy to make things happen, and things just flow more smoothly. Whereas if we're constantly overworking ourselves and running on empty, we're able to accomplish like less and less over time because it's not sustainable, and we just become more and more worn down, and we move in the direction of burnout. So I would say if you're somebody who has a tendency to overwork themselves, especially if things are really flowing for you and you're seeing a lot of productivity, it might be tempting to just like push harder and harder and harder and see how much you're doing or you're capable of doing. But this is kind of like, you still need to rest. You need your sleep. You need to rejuvenate. And like, you don't want to push yourself to the point of burnout, because then you're inevitably going to have to rest. It might not be an option. So it's like, you don't want to push yourself and your body and your mind so hard that you burn out, because if rest is something that you feel like you've got some resistance to, then especially if you have no choice but to rest, and you might be, that will be difficult, but you also might need to take more rest for a longer period of time and sacrifice your forward movement and ability to do work for longer than you would have if you were just incorporating daily rest and or recognizing when you're starting to get run down and giving yourself a day or two to recuperate before pushing forward again. And the interesting thing is, with the Four of Swords being clarified by the Five of Pentacles, the Five of Pentacles is the poverty card. So it's a sense of like not having enough, feeling poor, not having enough resources, not having enough support. It could be not having enough knowledge. It could be any combination of things, but it's kind of feeling as though something is blocking you from abundance. Something is blocking you from success. Something's blocking you from taking that next step forward or being, so you could feel as though something is blocking you from being able to rest. And that could be in the material sense. Like maybe you think, well, I can't rest. I need to work because I don't have enough money. So I can't rest because work is a priority. And it's like there's some kind of connection between material abundance and a feeling of being poor or not having enough resources in some way, and how that impacts your ability to rest. But like I said, especially if it comes to, if it's about work, and making money, building up savings, having enough money to afford a certain thing, you might feel like you have no choice but to constantly be overworking yourself. And I would say, like, just keep in mind that if you're overworking yourself because you feel like you don't have enough right now, what happens if you sacrifice your health, right? Because if you already need to work hard and you don't have enough, if you sacrifice your health and you're not able to work, what kind of difficult situation is that going to put you in, right? So it's like, you still need to tend to yourself. You still need to give yourself time to rest. And that period of rest is really important to reflect on the things that have happened to you, the places that you're going, to kind of work through your perceptions, to challenge limiting beliefs, and to kind of connect with your inner wisdom as well. Like, there's opportunity for enlightenment in rest and a new way of doing things, or a renewed sense of energy in terms of what you're accomplishing. The other thing I will say about the Five of Pentacles is that this can be a card of like, it can be a card of like limited vision or giving up. So it's like, you might just assume that you don't have enough, or that you it's difficult for you to connect with more or to see the results of whatever it is that you're working toward. But you see, like, the key to more pentacles, to abundance, Six of Pentacles is a card of abundance and reaping the harvest is the next from this. And you can see there's a key right here. But she's so worn down and she's feeling so down and out, focusing on the lack, right? What she doesn't have enough of, that she doesn't see not only that there is a key, which means, a keyhole, which means that inevitably there's a key and there's a way to move through this energy, but also that the key is right there. And it's just up to her to look and to pick it up and open the door, right? So it's like, whatever you feel you're lacking, you have the power to connect with more. There are steps that you can take to connect with more. And it's just up to you to believe it, right? And as long as you're in a lack mindset, it's really, really difficult to feel empowered to take steps toward abundance or to believe that you can connect with abundance. So you might be telling yourself things about material abundance that are actually just keeping you stuck in a sense of lack, which might be causing you to sacrifice your personal rest. So that is showing up as your challenge. So you might find that is particularly highlighted for you this month. And what I love is that, and so this could be related to your body, your health, and your energy as well, because pentacles are connected to the body, but it also could be like money and work, material things. So what I love is that in terms of your advice to help work through this challenging energy, you've got the Nine of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. And the Nine of Pentacles is a very stable, very confident, very capable and hardworking card of like independence, right? So you might feel like you don't have enough, and you might feel like you're not capable of connecting with all that you want. And so you might be waiting on something or someone outside of yourself, or you may feel as though like the only way that you're going to connect with this abundance or this stability is if, you know, someone else is stable and you're connected to them, or like, you know, maybe there's something blocking you from being successful, and so you're relying on the support or the abundance that other people can connect with. So this card is basically saying like, you may potentially be undervaluing yourself, undervaluing your effort, undervaluing your hardworking nature, your ability to take small, consistent, steady steps and put the practical work in and move in the direction. So it's like, you know, whatever it is that you're creating, one day at a time. You can only take it one day at a time. And as long as you're showing up consistently and putting in the work, that inevitably will pay off. Right? And so it's recognizing that you can create things for yourself. You can do it for yourself. And to believe in yourself and to have the confidence that no one else has to come and do it for you. No one needs to save you. You don't need to rely on anyone. You can ask for support and receive support, but ultimately that's going to be in doing whatever is best for you. Right? So it's like there are resources and there's support and there's love available to you, but you don't need to relinquish your power and hope that someone else is going to do it for you, because you have everything that you need. Like you can do it. This is like, when I look at this, it's like, you can do it, right? And this also really like kind of nails home this Eight of Pentacles energy, this energy of working hard and focusing and recognizing that, yeah, anything that isn't easy, anything that doesn't just come naturally to us and that we aren't just naturally blessed with or gifted with, it requires work. It requires time and effort and practice and attention. And that can be discouraging, but the effort is worth it, right? And so the Page of Swords is a very curious kind of energy. So it's on a journey of learning and growth and development, of trying to connect with and absorb as many different perspectives and little tidbits of knowledge as possible. So it's having a very open mind and being willing to have a beginner's mindset. So this means letting go of any limitations, any fears, any biases, any limiting beliefs, anything that would cause you to judge a person, a place, or a situation as being something that is not relevant or not valuable, and recognizing that every single person, every single experience in life is actually a beautiful opportunity for learning. And the more that we're able to take in, we can understand other people's experiences and different perspectives. It doesn't mean that just because we've come into contact with that knowledge that we have to abide by it or that we have to use it, right? It's recognizing that it just gives us more to work with. It gives us a deeper understanding of ourselves and of other people and of, the world at large, and we can use that information to our advantage as we move along our path, right? And so this is an open-mindedness, a willingness to connect with new information. You might connect with new perspectives on life, new ways of doing something. And that way of doing something may be outside of your comfort zone, or it might challenge or kind of beat out the way that you would normally do it, but it's about being willing to say, hey, there's a possibility that I could connect with a way of doing things that actually is easier and takes less time and energy than the way that I'm currently attached to doing it. So it's being willing to recognize when you've been afforded opportunities to make your life easier, to kind of fast track yourself, to come into contact with new idea that's going to elevate you, that's going to help you feel more confident and more capable and independent, especially when you're doing the work. So this would be like the work that you're showing up and doing, the work that you're putting in mentally, physically, emotionally. It could be your personal development. It could be your health. It could be your family. It could be your relationships. It could be, managing the home, making money at work, like your finances, whatever the practical work that you're putting in and in the direction that you're moving in terms of your stability and your abundance. This is being open to new information, open to new ways of doing things, and recognizing when you can make your life easier, right? So it's like there's the opportunity to upgrade, and you don't have to agree with everyone and everything, right? So it's like exercising your own discretion and knowing what is going to be best for you, but being willing to be a sponge and see, because sometimes connecting to the vast amount of information and the different ideas that are out there is what helps us to become inspired in our own unique way. Because it may not be that hearing somebody else's way of doing something is inevitably going to be right for you, but hearing someone share that with you might set a light bulb off in your own mind based on what you already know to be true and what you've been doing. And then hearing this other perspective, it might just give you that little bit of fuel to turn that spark into a flame, and something that you otherwise wouldn't have understood. You've kind of got a solution uniquely of your own, right? That's been facilitated by a conversation or a connection with someone else. So it's like, just be open and have that beginner's mindset, be open to learning. Try not to resist, because that could really help facilitate whatever actions you're taking in the physical world. And then finally, your last kind of message, what you need to know this month, is showing up as the Hanged Man. I'm taking the Hanged Man as the primary because this is you, right? This is you. This is your energy. This is what you're going through. And you're inverted right now with this Hanged Man. And so strength, it's about having courage. It's about having the courage to face our fears and to step into the face of fear and into the unknown with that courage and with that knowledge that when we live from the heart and we take action from a heart-centered place and we allow ourselves to be confident in spite of not knowing how things are going to go, but to believe in our ability, right? To believe in our ability to handle the situations that come our way, even if we struggle. To believe in our ability to handle situations even that are scary or are hurtful or challenging, right? This is having the courage to let go of this kind of darkness and open up to something more. And for it to come up with the Hanged Man, this is indicating that there might be a lot going on this month, but also not a lot of movement. So it's like you might be putting a lot of work in, you might be seeing results, but you might not actually feel as though you're moving forward, right? Anyways, it's kind of a conflicting energy because we don't have a lot of movement. We do have a lot of stability. I will say that. So I would say any amount of lack of movement or perceived lack of movement, any kind of roadblock that is slowing you down, a sense of not progressing, especially if there's any kind of frustration because you're not feeling productive necessarily. It's recognizing that these slow periods, whether it's a slow period of stability, a slow period of rest, whether it's we're working really, really hard, but we're not getting anywhere as a result of that work. It's recognizing that when we are suspended, when things are not moving, we're being asked to slow down. We're being asked to quiet our minds and voluntarily take that time of rest as an opportunity to assess our circumstances and to assess our environment. And hanging upside down gives us the opportunity to see things from a new perspective, to be willing to connect with a new perspective. And so sometimes those periods of suspension, we're just being held up because it would not serve us to move forward. Perhaps we don't have the perspective or the tools that are going to be most beneficial to us moving forward in the direction of our highest good. So it's like, they say rejection is divine protection. So the same can be said for those slow, seemingly stagnant periods. We're meant to be connecting with whatever we need to serve us moving forward. So sometimes those cycles bring us to a point where nothing is moving, where it's kind of winter and things are dead and quiet. But in spite of things seeming dead, there's still a lot going on under the surface. And as the thaw comes, life there's rebirth, right? So it's just a slow period. It's not the end. And this is recognizing that sometimes it can be easier to handle those slow periods when we are willing to see what there is to be learned, like what perspective is there, right? So sometimes hanging upside down, you see it from the other side and you can connect with either a perspective or some knowledge or some wisdom or a way of doing things that might be different. And once you connect with that, then it's like you have what you need to move forward in the direction of your highest good and things will shift again. So I kind of get the sense, especially if you are feeling timid, especially if you are somebody who's avoidant or who procrastinates, this could be a month of really kind of recognizing why you participate in those behaviors, how you might be disempowering yourself, how you might keep yourself playing small instead of stepping into this big, bold, courageous energy. Like, this is Leo energy. This is what you're meant to do. You're meant to do it big, and you're meant to show up with confidence. And confidence doesn't mean that like everything is going to be easy and that you're going to be perfect. Confidence means I have the skills that I need to deal with what I need to deal with to get through, right? It's being willing to trust your ability and not to fall into fear or worry or depression or things that keep you from moving through your life in a meaningful and authentic way and connecting with the things that are most meaningful to you. So yeah, you're being given an opportunity to just kind of take a rest and see what there is to be learned. And chances are, once you connect with what there is to be learned, you're going to have a new perspective on things, and things are likely to kind of start shifting and moving forward again. Because a lot of times that rest is a period of healing, so that you are, well rested and you're ready to step into the action of rebirth or growth, right? Okay, sorry this is a long reading. They've been really long this month. It's been a lot, but thank you for sticking through it with me. So I'm going to quickly share with you the channeled messages that I took some time to connect with before I got any of your cards out, and then we'll get you final affirmation and oracle. So the first message that came through was fork in the road. And so what I immediately got was the sense that like something is not working, right? Something needs to change. The idea of a fork in the road is that you've been on one singular path for a certain point of time, and now you've come to a fork. You can't keep going straight, right? You have to make a direction, or you're going to veer off to the left or the right. And you also can't go back from the direction that you came in, because then you would be moving backwards. That wouldn't serve you. You're not getting closer, right? So it's like you're at a choice point where you need to make a decision which direction you're going to go in. And you can't do what you have been doing to this point, right? So it's like you're going to have to commit. And And it's recognizing that because you can't stay where you've been, the most that you can do is take in the information that's available to you through everything, through your emotions, your intuition, logic. And it's not going too far in any direction, but it's trusting yourself to make a balanced and empowered decision that is in alignment with what you want, what you need, what motivates you, what you're trying to create, right? So it's like, that's all you can do. Connect with yourself and make the decision to move in the direction that feels right, and to trust your ability to make that decision, and to trust that whatever decision that you make, that's going to be the right one, right? There's no one path. There's no singular path to success, right? There are so many different routes that you can take. So you can't look at a decision or being at that fork in the road as like a right decision versus a wrong decision. Both decisions are right. They're just going to lead you on a different path to that end goal, right? There's going to be different intersections. There's going to be different experiences, different people that you meet, but they can still take you to the same destination, right? So it's like all you can do is make an empowered decision, trust yourself, commit, and follow through, and trust that in doing so, you're going to have the experiences that you're meant to have. You're going to learn the lessons that you're meant to learn. You're going to have the struggles that are going to help kind of evolve your soul and give you the tools that you need to kind of tackle that next stage. So not to get hung up, right? And it's not a decision that you can make as a result of like analysis. It's something that you're going to have to make from the heart, I would say. The next message that came through, I say song because it was the message that came through was Somebody Told Me. So it could very well be that song by the Killers that might be significant to you. As always, when songs or potential songs come through, I encourage people to listen to them, to look up the lyrics, see if there's anything, maybe there's a message for you there, maybe there's a point of connection that's very specific to you. But for me, what came through, I had to mention the song portion, but what came through was information. So the things that people say to you. So it could be information that you come across, people trying to help, people sharing their experiences or their knowledge. It could be gossip. It could be unsolicited advice. But it's basically the sense is it's like somebody told me. And it's like, what kind of value do you place on the things that people tell you? So when you're taking in this information, this kind of goes with this Page of Swords, being open-minded, being willing to hear different points of view, being willing to connect with all sorts of different information. But the most important part is having that open mind, but also being able to use your discernment, right? Because we have our personal truths, and then we have so your truth and what's true for you may be different from what somebody else's truth is. And you can still, agree to disagree. You can still respect that person without conforming to their ideas. But it's also saying like, just because it's true for someone else doesn't mean it's true for you, or it has to be. And so it's being able to filter through what people tell you and use your own discretion and know what's going to be beneficial and helpful, and know what isn't, right? And to just be able to accept and move through that. And the other thing that I will say is that if you don't take time to connect with yourself and to kind of rest and to see what's true for you, if you're not using your discernment or paying attention to it, and you're devaluing what you know to be true and taking the things that people tell you as a result, that's going to be a recipe for living a life that's not yours, which I don't get the sense that that's what you're trying to do. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when you've got a lot of information coming in, when you're filtering through a lot of things, especially when you take other people's word as the truth, if you're not aware of what your personal truth is, and you don't have that kind of awareness of and trust in yourself, it's difficult to use discernment. So basically you're like a sponge absorbing everything, and you don't know what's yours and what's theirs, right? You don't know what to do with that information. So the less that you're connected to yourself and what's true for you, the more confusing it's going to be to connect with like other perspectives and other truths. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you might just need to take some time to ground yourself and to figure out like, who am I? What do I believe? What's important to me? And trust your ability to intuitively kind of sense what is going to be helpful and what isn't, so that you're making empowered decisions for yourself. The next message that came through was, I have no idea what I'm doing. And the thing that immediately came up was like, no one does. Let's be honest, no one does. We all feel that way. Maybe not all the time, maybe just at specific points in life, but I think assessing your self-worth and your value and your ability to achieve things or to contribute should not hinge on you having a sense that you know what you're doing, right? In fact, I think the people who are able to do the most in this life are the people who relieve themselves of the pressure of having to be perfect or having to have it all figured out and to know what they're doing. The people who know what they're doing or who think they know what they're doing are actually people who are, they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck in a fixed mindset or their fixed perspective or their fixed way of doing things. And they're not necessarily able to take in other ways of doing things, other approaches or other perspectives, and to be changed by those or educated to change their mind, to do something differently, right? They're usually very committed to one certain way of doing things and then protecting that, which a lot of times has to do with ego. So I think there is a beauty with being able to accept that it's okay. You don't have to know what you're doing. You're not supposed to know what you're doing all the time because we're always learning and growing. We're on this adventure, and that's the whole point. We're meant to learn and to have experiences and to gain knowledge and wisdom and insight as we experience and as a result of what we've experienced. It's a process of learning that gives us more knowledge and awareness, and we're never done, right? And so it's about realizing that you learn and master things through living those experiences and struggling and trying different things, not by trying to assess and plan and figuring it all out in advance and expecting that you figure it out first and then you experience and you're perfect, right? Like that's not how it works. It would be nice. We would feel safer if we could figure it all out first and then just apply the perfect formula, but that doesn't work that way. So don't be hard on yourself. And then the last thing that came through was life is messy. And so that ties to this idea of control, expectations of things being neat and tidy and well planned and organized and, that structured path to success that you can just follow and judging yourself if you don't have that structured path or you haven't followed it or you have followed it and it hasn't worked out. It doesn't honor us or our humanity to try and categorize and control and structure life because it's just not feasible. That's not how things work, right? We can't compartmentalize everything. We just kind of have to let things be what they are and honor them for that, right? Without judgment, to meet life where it is, to be who we are, and to allow life to unfold as it's meant to without needing to control it or to judge it or say like, oh, well, I'm struggling and I'm emotional and I shouldn't be emotional, or it's not acceptable to be emotional and to talk about my feelings with other people. So, the more that we resist it and the more we try to control and compartmentalize it, the more we deny our humanity, which ultimately makes our suffering so much worse because suffering is part of humanity, right? And it's part of our elevation to a certain degree as well. Overcoming it and managing those stressful periods. So like I said, if we're beating ourselves up about it, it's pretty hard to move beyond it, right? So, gosh, you guys, always lots of complex stuff coming through. Okay, I'm not sighing because I'm overwhelmed. I'm sighing because I ran out of breath. But yeah, this has been a pretty awesome reading so far. So I'm just getting you a couple of affirmations. Then we'll get your last oracle. Your first affirmation is, I let go of all that no longer serves me. Yes. Very important. So that could be relating to this perspective, being willing to see what you're holding on to that's holding you back, how the darkness has maybe kind of had a grip on you, the ways that you've been giving up your power, because sometimes we move beyond situations that are holding us back, but we're in the habit of being held back or believing that we're held back, or we've been impacted or wounded by our experience, and so we kind of hold ourselves back or sabotage ourselves, or it's just simply a fear of stepping into the unknown, right? Like not trusting that we're held. So yeah, let go of anything that's limiting, that's disempowering, any limiting beliefs. And it might take some period of rest. It might take periods of disconnection, introspection to figure out what that is for you. Or it could be really intensely reflected to you as a result of your experiences with other people. Right? And your second affirmation is I forgive myself and set myself free. Yes, so there's the opportunity for a lot of healing and a lot of release and like opening new doors, connecting with new opportunities, just letting go of whatever is heavy and dragging you down so that you can connect with this strong, like courageous energy and trust that you don't have to be a victim of fear. You can, even if things are scary and difficult, or even if they're really beautiful, and it's just the unknown that is anxiety inducing. It's knowing like, you know, you can and will handle anything that comes your way. And you deserve to forgive yourself for anything that would make you feel otherwise, and for any way that you've committed yourself in the past to playing small or doubting yourself, doubting your strength. All right, so your final oracle this month is To the Sea. It gives me another sense of like release. Okay, so I'm just going to read this directly from the guidebook. This will be your final message, your final bit of advice to kind of tie everything together to end on. So the essential meanings are being in flow, returning to source, recognizing how pieces fit together, and a natural pattern of events. So that could play very nicely into these like cycles and trusting the cycles of your life. So the message, isn't it wonderful when you feel yourself in the flow of life, when events and conditions seem to engage you in a way that is fluid and effortless? This card reminds you that going with the flow is exactly what you need to do right now. Ride the waves of opportunity formed by perfect conditions. Allow trust and faith to guide you forward as you flow like a river into the sea of life. And then relationship. There are points in a relationship when you have to decide to go with the flow rather than dictate the course you share with another. Can you let go of the need to have things your way and allow the relationship itself, your combined goals and desires, to steer the ship? Can you both transcend your personalities and allow the partnership to form its own identity, its own energy? Now is the time to relax and see where this mutual journey leads. And prosperity. Everything seems to work out when you stop scrambling and allow the sea of opportunities to wash over you and wake you up to your most prosperous potential. To get into that flow, you need to address your beliefs about abundance and money, which could have to do with this poverty card we're seeing here. Yeah, get into the flow. You need to address your beliefs about abundance and money. The true meaning of your personal currency lies in your skills, your talents and abilities, and most importantly, your core beliefs. Everything flows from your inner world and is reflected in the outer one. When grateful to serve, you align your prosperity consciousness with a higher consciousness. You can expect miracles. Everything you need will come to you easily. So that's basically saying, like, when you're stepping into your potential, when you're moving in the direction that you're being called to move in, support often flows in, and support is available to you, people who are in the same boat or who have the same goals or the same life experiences. And then there's a protection message. When external conditions appear to block every attempt to move forward, there is no hidden message for you to decipher. Like the ocean, the tides of experience ebb and flow. You are in a natural cycle, so know that things will flow again in due course. There is no cause for alarm. Stop resisting and fighting against the situation and learn to flow, even when the tide is going out. The Hangman is also about release, right? Relax and trust in the abundance that will soon be within your reach again. An ancient mariner saying applies to you now. When fishermen cannot go to sea, they stay home and repair their nets. Interesting. And then, so it kind of gives me the sense when I was saying about like specifically mastering the skills needed to like connect to happiness or to incorporate more happiness and joy and childlike wonder into your life and your daily experience. It could be that feeling as though things are not working out, or feeling kind of like you're going through a dark period or a challenging period. It might feel as though that's putting a damper on your happiness and on your ability to connect with happiness. But actually, trying to maintain those healthy habits that help you connect to joy, right? Whether or not your situation is happy, it's actually kind of supercharging your effort, because the more difficult it is to do that work, the more you're kind of struggling through something, but you're still putting in the effort to take care of yourself and to try and, manage, to try and have healthy outlets, or to try and kind of maintain optimism and joy in whatever ways that you can. You're working more than you would work if everything was just sunshine and rainbows, right? So it's like, to think of it, it's easy. It's, well, not necessarily easy, but it's a lot easier to be happy when everything is sunshine and rainbows and things are just working out. It's a lot more difficult to practice happiness intentionally when you're experiencing roadblocks or disappointments or loss or struggle, or you feel like things are being withheld from you, right? So it's even more important now, more than ever, to keep doing the work that you're doing, specifically when it relates to happiness and joy, and like keep in mind that you are strengthening your ability to connect with that, and that seems to be part of your whole goal, is to have more happiness and satisfaction, to have a happy life, whatever that looks and feels like to you. So this is just kind of part of mastering that, because if you can stay connected to that and still put that work in and find ways to be happy in spite of the struggle, you can be happy no matter what comes your way, and you can feel confident in your ability to handle it. So yeah, if you can't go fishing, repair your nets, right? I'm going to leave you with that. Leo, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful. I hope September is a beautiful month for you. If you did enjoy this reading, or you found it to be helpful in any way, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube. Beyond that, you can also leave me a comment, let me know how it resonates or what made sense for you. And if you know of anyone that may be interested in or may benefit from my readings, you can feel free to share my channel or my content with them. Also, make sure, if you haven't already, you hop over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and ensure you're not only subscribed to the channel, but also signed up for notifications, which is the little bell icon, as that will keep you up to date on new readings as they're posted. So Leo, I hope this month is good to you. I hope you're able to capitalize on all of this energy. The power is in your hands. You guys have got this. I believe in you. It's been an absolute pleasure reading for you. Thank you so much for sharing this time and space. I'm so looking forward to reconnecting with you next month. And in the meantime, until I see you again, I'm wishing you all the very best.